I moved to Germany knowing zero German. I couldn't even count to 10, let alone 3. When I say nothing, I mean I knew nothing. I'm nowhere near fluent, but I can express myself and I can connect with people in ways that I never could have if I didn't know German. So in this video, I want to show you exactly how I went from this, knowing zero German, to this.
Hallo, ich hätte gerne einen Latte mit Hafermilch mitnehmen.
Los geht's. Let's start with the backstory. Why am I in Germany? Why would an Australian voluntarily move from Australia to Germany? You know what? That's a really good question I get asked basically any time I say I'm from Australia. So here's why. My whole life, I have had family scattered across the world. So living abroad has never really been that far-fetched of an idea. I was living in London prior to living in Germany. Before I lived in London, I traveled the world solo, which were the best months of my life, to be honest. But after going through so much change, like leaving your home country, finishing your job you'd been at for 7 years and stepping completely into the unknown, you sort of become hooked on pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So for me, London was way too familiar. I wasn't learning a new language. I was surrounded by Australians, which isn't an issue. It's just that I wanted to really make myself uncomfortable. So I was looking at moving to the Netherlands or Germany. It ended up being Germany because the visa situation is much easier and it would allow me to learn a new language, which is German. So I moved to Berlin and I'm still here today, and honestly, I love it. There's this idea that you can live in Berlin or any major German city and get by speaking only English, which in some situations, yes, you can. But the reality is you are living in Germany. German is the main language here. The further out you get from a city, the less and less people speak English. And even in the city, not everyone speaks English well. Like, you should come to Germany expecting to learn German or knowing a little bit. And if you don't speak German, I really think you miss out on a lot of life here. That can make your living abroad experience feel a lot more lonely. At least that was my experience during those early days when I didn't know anything. Even hearing an announcement on the train, I was overwhelmed because like, what? I didn't know what they were saying. When you don't know the local language, even the smallest things feel quite overwhelming. And I think that's compounded by the fact that you've never maybe felt out of depth when ordering a coffee before. Like, when have you ever struggled to ask someone a question? Not having the ability to do that really takes a lot of the sense of control you have. Only up until a few months ago, I still found ordering a coffee terrifying. You know, my heart would be racing so much and then I would get nervous and I would forget what to say. And when you're not confident, I think people can really feel that, so they will end up switching to English. And while that might not seem like a bad thing, when you're learning German, all you want to do is speak and practice, even if you make mistakes. And I think Germans will switch to English when they sense you're not confident because they want to help you out, or maybe they want to practice their English, you know, like, fair enough. So about a month into moving here, I decided it was time to fully commit to learning German. I was going all in. I took intensive German lessons for 6 months and I went from A1.1 to B1.2. I went to a German school in Berlin called die Deutschschule, which I loved, guys. I really recommend this school. And you have to buy books separate. This is A1, A2, B1. One is a course book, one is a workbook. These, I think, in total cost about 50 euros for one level. And then my German intensive course, I think, was around 240 euros for 1 month. You're going to school 4 times a week for about 3 hours. You're doing homework in between. I think the price is very reasonable for that. And I don't think you can find much cheaper anywhere else. That's just from the research that I did at the time. People think it's really impressive when I tell them I've done A1.1 to B1.2 in 6 months. And like, it sounds great on paper, but the reality is learning how to speak German doesn't come from just going to classes. Even though you have the knowledge, you might not feel confident in speaking. For me, I definitely did not feel confident in speaking. Honestly, I still sometimes don't. This is when I learned something really important. Learning a language is so much more than understanding grammar rules and these tiny little nitpicky things like what article is what. Yes, that's important, but the progress comes from practicing in real life situations. So here's when things switched. I really started focusing on not being perfect and just speaking whenever I could. Because for me, I'm honestly a shy person. Like, right now I'm speaking to you on camera, I seem confident, but in public speaking German, I'm quite shy, and it's something that is taking time for me to overcome. But the really hard thing is, as a German learner, is finding situations in real life where you can speak German that's a bit more in depth than going to the coffee shop or asking for directions. This is when I really started looking at language apps to practice my daily conversations. My favorite one, and the one I use most days, is called Sylvi Language Pen Pals, which I rate so highly. The app works by giving you AI pen pals, so you actually get to choose. They've all got different personalities, different ages, different accents. The accents are crazy accurate.
Oh, schön. Was arbeitest du?
Hat Berlin diese Woche endlich Sonne geliefert? Oder ist es immer noch typisch grau und regnerisch?
Wenn es wieder schwer wird, ein Spaziergang und dann kurz schreiben hilft mir oft.
They message you every day. You can speak with them like voice note.
Ist im Großen 2 Espresso-Shots drin?
Gute Frage.
Or you text them, and then for every message you send, you get it corrected. You can also save words from the conversations you have, and those words get automatically made into flashcards, which I think is genius, because I would spend so long cutting out individual flashcards for every new word I learn, but now I just have everything in the one app. And for me, flashcards have been one of the fastest ways to not only learn new words, but new phrases. Because in German, you learn a verb, there's like 5 forms of that verb, you know? Or you learn a word, but without the context of a sentence, that word doesn't really make sense. So practicing phrases is really important, and you can do that on flashcards. On this app, if you are interested in giving the Sylvi app a go, I actually have a free trial link in my bio. And then if you like the app, that same link will give you a 10% discount. So what actually made the biggest differences to me when it came to learning? When it comes to learning, as I'm still learning. I really think it was letting go of perfection and focusing on consistency instead. To be honest, I still need to remind myself of this. This can look like speaking even when you feel embarrassed, practicing a few times a week, even if that's just talking to yourself while you walk around cleaning the house, while you're making your breakfast, like narrate what you're doing in German. I also use that app Sylvi for doing this. And now 18 months later, after starting my very first German class, I can speak in German conversations. I can express myself and I can connect with people in ways I never could have before. The moment you have that first conversation with a stranger in a language that you've really recently learned, in a language you didn't grow up knowing, that is the most incredible feeling, and I feel like that inspires you to just try more new things in life. You know, it might sound a bit dramatic, but it's true. Like when you overcome a huge challenge, you're then inspired to keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Like, how can we level up even more? So if you're learning a language right now, just know you are not alone in the struggle of trying to make it all make sense, but focusing on consistency rather than aiming for perfection is seriously the key to learning how to speak German. It's all about showing up and just trusting the process, knowing that every day you are getting better, even if it doesn't feel like it. If I can go from not knowing how to count to 3 to having conversations, anything is possible, you guys. You can do it too. If you're on a similar journey, follow along. I share everything about my life as an Australian living in Germany, trying to learn a new language. So I hope my content can help you feel less alone. Tschüss.